And the geek shall inherit the podcast. Okay, guys, it's your boy Scoop Dog. Welcome back to another episode of And the Geek Shall Inherit the Podcast. We're gonna have a breakdown of the last episode of Welcome to Derry, Ep.3. So let's break it down. So first, Lily is out of Juniper Hill and she is ready to help Ronnie. She figures that, hey, I'm crazy if I do and I'm crazy if I don't, so I might as well tell the truth. Ronnie appreciates that. Now they have to figure out how are they going to show proof, because you just can't go ahead and tell the police that a monster did it. So they pair up with Will and little Richie, who believes that because his grandmother used to cast spells and his uncle used to cast spells via Santa Maria, that they'll be able to conjure this entity, who we know is Pennywise, and capture a photo of it to have as proof. So they go into a cemetery that night and they perform this ritual, only to find out that Richie is kind of BSing them and he really doesn't know how to do the ceremony, and he's just trying to make friends with people. On their way out, as they're approaching the exit seems to be getting longer and longer. They're in the evil booby trap, and out comes these mutilated spirits of little Teddy and Susie, chasing them around. They're trying to snap pictures of these things, which is the weirdest part of the episode. I know to say that in a horror supernatural show, but it was just done sort of in a Scooby-Doo type of way, where this camera it's pitch black outside, but somehow the camera keeps falling and someone else is able to find it and pick it up. It gets caught on a branch. Someone comes out of nowhere. Like, they can't even see where they're riding their bikes. How are they able to see this little camera in a dark cemetery? It doesn't make sense, but that's me nitpicking. Anyways, Will is the last one to get out of the cemetery, and he goes into a crypt and snaps a picture of something coming from behind the walls. They go break into the high school and use the photo developing room, you know, those red rooms from back in the days. And lo and behold, the pictures actually develop. I thought they were going to light on fire like they did in Ghostbusters 2. And the last picture they look at is a picture, the picture that Will took, and it is Pennywise lurking in the crypt. Now, where does this all connect? Let's go to the second half of the show. The half that I found fantastic was with a flashback that started off the episode. We find out why General Shaw is so hell-bent on finding this entity. And we learned that as a kid, him and Rose, who is the native Indian lady who runs the antique shop in Derry, when they were both kids, they met after young Francis went to a circus freak show with his dad, and his dad won him this slingshot, and they went to buy water on the road from these little kids who were selling it, and Rose was one of these kids, and he didn't have enough to buy the bottle of water, so she took the slingshot instead. And then they became friends. They're playing in the fields, and then one day Will runs a little too far off and goes into the woods where they're not supposed to go. What's in the woods? You know how Pennywise feeds off of fear. He remembers something that scared this kid in the freak show, which was this one-eyed old man, creepy decrepit old man, and takes its form and then starts chasing after him. That scene was very well done, the way the entity would keep popping up from different trees, from behind different trees. The girl comes to his rescue and uses the slingshot to hurt the entity and allows them to escape. And then what happens, which reconnects to the whole mythology of the It story in Derry, is that when you move away from Derry, as we saw in the original movies, that when you move away, your memories fade of everything that you experienced in Derry. So that's what happened to Francis Shaw. He moved away. He's from a military family. So when he moved away from Derry, he didn't remember any of these things that happened until he recently came back on this assignment. So he uses the slingshot to give to Halloran, so that Halloran could use that as a beacon to try and find the entity. And they use Hanlon now to fly Halloran over the burial sites to try and help him hone in on it faster. And it's at this point where even someone else is telling General Shaw that they really should not be messing with this thing, and that, maybe these things are better left buried. But Shaw is hell-bent on getting this as his weapon. And we see Halloran go into a trance, and in this trance, Pennywise sees him. And that apparently was not supposed to happen. They were supposed to be spying on it, and it was not supposed to see them. So after almost killing himself by jumping out of the helicopter thinking that he was trapped in like the sewer, Hanlon saves him, and then they have dinner that night. And while they're having dinner, Halloran uses his psychic ability to ask Hanlon a question about his son. But Hanlon had never mentioned Will to Halloran. So after they're outside having a cigarette, and he tells him, I had this weird feeling in my head right when you asked me about my son, and the only other time I had that feeling was the night that those guys attacked me, and it's because it was the strangest feeling. He never felt anything like that before. So that's how we now know that Dick was one of the guys in the mask that attacked Hanlon. But that story has already been resolved. There's nothing else to dig from it, but just knowing, it was just a way to say that, hey, I know you were one of the guys there. And how it ends basically is that Halloran tells him that I was studying you. He he did not attack Hanlon at all. He was one of the guys that was just standing there and watching. And he says you were analyzing everything with a gun in your face. Meanwhile, most men would think about their family and think about all these things that they're about to die. And you were analyzing so much about the details of the gun and everything that the part of in your brain that should be creating fear is gone. This is something that we also learned in the previous episode. He says, I want you as my partner when I have to go back out on the field to try and find, the entity. And that's where the episode basically wraps up. I think they did a great job pacing and bringing us deeper into this thing. I'm happy that the kids got these photos, but the question is, are they going to be able to use these photos? Is something going to happen to them? Are they even going to believe it? In most cases, all these tropes is that something happens to the pictures, and the dad is going to be effed up still. But we'll see where this goes. And a shout out to a little cameo from Andy Muschietti in the flashback intro. He's the piano player in the haunted house scene there, where the young Francis confronts the scariest thing, which is the one-eyed man in the back of the tent. So if you guys have seen the episode, drop a comment below, let me know your thoughts, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.